video is going to be my July reading wrap up. I decided to film it sitting down again in my bed because your girl is tired. Your girl is tired, all right? And this might be the only day I'm going to have time to film this because tomorrow I'm going to the beach, so I'm going at like 12:30, so I'm not going to have time to film it before that. Tuesday, I train from 9 to 6. And then Wednesday, I'm going to the movies and I'm seeing Fantastic Four. And then Thursday and Friday, I'm working a whole day, Thursday 12 to 9. And then I'm training the next day on Friday as well from 9 to 6. And I didn't feel like filming it when I was going to the movies because sometimes I like just sitting down and talking about the books rather than filming it when I'm doing my makeup. So it's literally like the only times I'm able to film them. So let's get into it. So I read 18 books in July. So I pretty much kept up the same rate as the month before. And again, I had a really good reading month. I think there was only like maybe 2 books that I didn't love this month, which is usually my rate if I don't love certain books. But I think as I've become more of a avid reader like this entire year, like I've read over 135 books already this year. That's fucking insane. Okay, I think I've read like 136. Like, oh my god, one more than 135. But that's a lot of books already. This is more than I had read at this point in August because I remember when I hit my birthday month last year. My birthday's this month, yay. I already posted my TBR video so you could see what I was reading this month. But it's August 3rd right now, so I'm filming it like 3 days later, which is pretty good. I've already finished 2 books this month, so very proud of that. But anyway, as I've been a reader for a longer amount of time at this point, I feel like I'm knowing like what kind of books I'll like and what kind of books I won't. So my favorite book I read this month, there's 2 that I really loved. I really loved Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. Love that book so much. And The Compound by Aisling Rawle. Those were definitely my 2 favorite books that I read this month. There was one that I finished on August 1st, but if I had finished it on July 31st, that would have been my favorite book this month. But at least I ended the month with a bang, but I started August with a 5-star read, so that was the book that I finished. But anyway, and my least favorite book was, I think it was In 5 Years by Rebecca Surley, because with Flawless by Elsie Silver, which we will get into later, I didn't love it either, but that is the first book in the Chestnut Springs series, but we'll talk about that later. But In 5 Years by Rebecca Surley was pretty disappointing because this is now my 3rd book by the author, and I really didn't like this one, so we will get into it later. So let's first start off with the series that I finished at the beginning of July. I can't believe that was at the beginning of July. I literally feel like it was like 3 months ago at this point. But I did tell you guys that I was going to finish the Ember in the Ashes series the first week of July, so I read A Reaper at the Gates by Sabaa Tahir, and also A Sky Beyond the Storm by Sabaa Tahir as well, which are the 3rd and 4th books in the Ember in the Ashes series. I gave A Reaper at the Gates 5 stars. I do own all these books, by the way. I just put away these 2 books back on my shelf after I filmed my TikTok reading wrap up, but I forgot that I still needed to film my reading wrap up for YouTube, so I'm just gonna hold it up. Don't hate me. No one's gonna really care, honestly. I don't know why I'm saying that. Like, yeah, I have like 1 million subscribers, but at least a couple of my friends have watched my videos lately, so that's been nice. But anyway, but I forgot that I still needed to film this, so I put it back. But I read 8 physical books this month. Not really that many, because I did read quite a bit of Kindle reads, of Libby loans, and I did listen to 3 books fully in July, and I'm almost done with my 4th that I started listening to towards the end of July. So anyway, this one was by far my favorite book in the series. I loved the war in this book. I loved the magic. I loved the romance. It was just so good. Honestly, I can't really remember much though because it was like a month ago. So if you guys want my full thoughts on the whole series, I am going to be posting an entire reading vlog on reading the entire Ember in the Ashes series all the way up until Air, which we will get into soon. But I really, really liked this. I just thought that this book was stronger than um, the fourth book, and I actually thought that the fourth book was going to be my favorite. We're just going to talk about them together, A Sky Beyond the Storm. But I just didn't get that 5-star feeling like I did with A Reaper at the Gates. I still really liked A Sky Beyond the Storm, but I gave it a 4.5. It's still a fantastic series, and I highly recommend it, but A Reaper at the Gates was by far my favorite book. Let me just read well, I'm not going to read the synopsis because I feel like that's going to be a bit spoilery for people who haven't read it. Basically, they have to stop the Nightbringer from taking over the kingdoms because basically Laia, Elias, and Helene all have their own special powers to take down the Nightbringer. And basically, we see how their magical abilities evolve in this book, and also there is a lot of war fighting the Nightbringer's army, and also like a lot of magical entities. It was just so much better than This Woman Kingdom for me. I just love Sabaa Tahir's writing. It's so fast paced, it's so easily digestible. Sometimes it might be a little too fast paced though, because sometimes I'm like, oh shit, a battle happened. I didn't even realize it happened. So I did listen to quite a lot of the audiobooks for this series as well. I'm having a feeling I might listen to them again at some point, just so I can take it all in. But it was just so good that I would love to re-listen to them again. What else? Okay, so basically they have to go in between the land of the living and the dead. Elias has a lot of debate on, a lot of like in between kind of powers between realms of the living and the dead. Also, we find out who the Reaper at the Gates is in this book. Because with each book, you've pretty much found out who is the Ember in the Ashes, who is the Torch Against the Night, and who is the Reaper at the Gates. So I thought that was really cool. It's just really good. I really love this series. I don't really have anything else to say because I don't want to spoil it. Also, because again, I can't really remember. But they're just so good. I highly recommend them. If you were just debating on reading these, I think you should. I think you would not be disappointed. Okay, next up, I did read, like I said, one of my favorite books this month, and then I did watch the movie as well. So I read Red, White. How many times can I say? I read Red, White, and Royal Blue. You have to say red twice, because, they're spelled differently, but they sound the same. Let's learn English 101. By Casey McQuiston. And you guys, this book was so fucking cute. I loved it. It was also freaking hysterical. Fucking hysterical. I gave this book a 5 stars. This was by far my favorite romance book that I read this month. I'm so happy that I finally decided to read this book because I wanted to read this book last year during July 4th, but for some reason I didn't get to it. Maybe also I wasn't really in the mood for it at the time. But this year, I definitely wanted to read it for July 4th. And it was just so adorable. So it's about the president's son. What is his name? It just says the first son and the prince. Alex is his name is Alex. And then he ends up having a gay romance with Prince Henry. And it's just the cutest thing ever in existence, I swear. So Alex meets Prince Henry at like this White House event that, like, obviously the Prince of England is invited to the White House, and Prince Henry's kind of a piece of shit. He's kind of an asshole. He does not like he doesn't like parties really. He's never really had a problem with like who's in the White House, That could be a thing. In like real life. I'm so good at explaining things, you guys. Like, champion. But I read this on Kindle Unlimited and I listened to it on Libby. I actually didn't get to read it as much as actually listen to it. Also, my one complaint about this book, though, even though something happens in literally every single chapter and you're never bored reading it, that's why I knew it was a 5-star read. That's obviously why I usually rate things 5 stars, or because I'm interested from beginning to end and it never like drops off. And it never did. I loved this book. But the chapters were so freaking long. There's some chapters that are like 80 minutes listening to it. And reading it, some of them are a freaking hour. I'm like, why are these so long? But anyway, it was so cute. I just loved it. I loved their romance. And it was just so funny. Some of the side characters banter with Alex. Oh my god, it's hysterical. Like, them trying to like control like this gay romance that's happening, because not everybody's gonna approve of it, of course, especially between America and England. Like, the United Kingdom has to worry about perceiving, what do you call it, preserving the family line. Jesus, words, like, to produce an heir, and Henry's like, no, I love Alex. And it was just so fucking cute. I highly recommend you read this book. If you don't read the book, I think you should watch the movie. They did change a little bit of what happened in the book with the presidential election, a little bit more at the end of the movie than what had happened in the book, but I think they did it in a good way and not like a bad way. But you definitely get more so from the book, and just, they're so cute. So then Prince Henry's kind of like a grumpy sunshine character, because he starts like warming up to Alex, and they start like emailing each other and start talking to each other a lot. And, they just end up falling in love, and it's so adorable. I really loved it. So I thought it was really cute. And then next up, I listened to probably the biggest book of this summer, besides One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. And honestly, both of these books were so freaking good. And I'm talking about One Golden Summer as well. But I listened to Till Summer Do Us Part by Megan Quinn. This is my first Megan Quinn book. That was also my first Casey McQuiston book. Oh my god, they were both fucking hysterical. I loved this book, you guys. I gave this book a 4.75. This was so close to being a 5-star, but it wasn't quite a 5-star because I didn't feel myself as invested in the characters as much as I would be if it was a 5-star romance. But other than that, this book was so fucking funny, you guys. So basically, this is about, I remember exactly what this book was about, okay? I remember this one. I remember most of the books that I read this month, except for really Ember in the Ashes. So I feel like I need to re-listen to those again at some point. So this is about Scotty and, what is the man's name? Blah, 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 blah. Wilder. His name is Wilder. So, this book was just so funny. So, basically, Scotty works for, like, this company, and she's single, and there's so much pressure in this company to be, like, married. So, her company invites her on, like, this marriage retreat, like this camp retreat for married couples, that was kind of similar to, like, Out of the Woods, but that was a lot more serious. And basically, Scotty hasn't been in a relationship for a long time, but she ends up, like, lying to her coworkers about being married. And she's like, oh shit, I need like a fake husband to bring with me to this marriage camp. Basically, is what it is. So she ends up bringing her gay best friend's brother. And his name is Wilder. And he's like this billionaire bachelor. He doesn't really have much to do. So she like, oh no, her best friend texts his brother and he's like, hey, do you want to like fake being my best friend's husband for like this weekend retreat? He's like, sure, sounds fun. And Scotty's like, why did he agree to it so quickly? Why'd you ask him? And he's like, well, you need help, don't you? Like, and then when she asked Wilder, like, why'd you agree to this so quickly? And he's like, I don't know, sounded like a good time. So basically, like, the whole book is about, like, their hilarious banter at the marriage camp. And mostly it just takes place there. But there's, like, this hilarious back and forth between them that, like, when they, like, fake fight as a couple. Because, you know, they're trying to create problems for their marriage, because like that's basically what this camp is for like, you know, to bring your relationships back together, and you know, kind of like camp counseling, like marriage counseling. I mean, wow, Caitlin, amazing. And it's just hysterical. There's like this one part where there's like this sex room that they go into, and the head of the marriage camp is like, we're very open here, so if you need anything, just, you know, find it on you can find it in here. And it's just so fucking funny. I ate this book up. It was so funny. Also, it was narrated by Teddy Hamilton. And I thought this book was way better and way hotter than Caught Up. Did I say hotter? Way hotter. Way hotter. Why can't I say that word right now? It sounds so weird. Idiot. Then Caught Up by Nevessa Allen, because I told you guys last month that was my least favorite book I read last month. It was just not a very good follow-up to Lights Out, which everybody loves and adores. Why is my blanket driving me crazy? Hold on a second. Okay, we're good now. Also, I'm not filming the entire clip and then losing all the footage again like last time. That is not happening. Or I will be pissed. I was ready to throw my computer when that happened. Based on a true story. So anyway, it was great. I loved it. So funny. You just need to read it. It's recommended for a reason. People are loving it because it's so funny. But also I know that people don't have the same experience with Megan Quinn's books as much as Casey McQuiston's books. I said that hers are a little better. But again, I haven't read any other Megan Quinn books, but I thought this one was so funny and everybody is loving it. So, okay, next up, I did read an arc. I read 2 arcs this month because both of these books were coming out in July, and I was so happy to receive both of these arcs. The other one that I read, I think like 1 or 2 books after this one, I received it like, I think back in like April, so I finally like read it like a week and a half before it came out. And then this one, I think I only received like a couple of weeks before it came out, so I wanted to read it before it came out. So this one came out July 15th, and I read it on July 5th. And that is A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana. Now, this is not a direct sequel to The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. And that's what literally everybody thought when this book came out, including myself. But then you realize that it's not a sequel to The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. But also, I liked that book a lot more than this one. This one I gave like a 3.85. I didn't feel strongly enough to give it a 4-star, but also I didn't think it was awful. So I didn't give it a 3.7. 3.75 is still a good rating for me, but I just felt like a 3.85 was high enough. So basically this is about a woman named Sarah, and it's kind of similar to like the concept of The Very Secret Society of Regular Witches, Sarah basically has lost her powers, but in the other book, I'm not going to say it 50 million times because it's a long fucking title. The Very Secret Society, I'm just going to say that. I didn't love it as much because even though there was still some really good moments, there were certain parts about her romance, and also like I wasn't really connecting to their romance as much as the Very Secret Society. And I felt like I was constantly comparing this book to the Very Secret Society, and I really don't like when I do that, but sometimes it's like the books are like too similar to kind of differentiate them. But I felt like the Found Family and, you know, the other things in the Very Secret Society a lot more than this book. And also like the witch losing her powers was done in like the Kiss Curse. So it's kind of been done before, so I didn't think it was that much of of like a original concept. But also I just felt like that I wasn't really feeling I am so tired. I might just film the rest of this another time because I am really tired and I just want to relax right now. And I already feel like my voice is getting tired from speaking. And Luke Larson is the icy magical historian, and he might be able to help her get her magic back. But the thing that kind of took me out of the story a little bit more was that I felt like even though it is a romance, I felt like it was a little bit too overly sexual for me in this book. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but I feel like Sangu Mandana was kind of pressured to really push this as a romance more so than the Very Secret Society, and I felt like some of the language used in this book was kind of like awkwardly placed. Like they would just say, let's straight up, you know, F, or like, you know, you're full of shit. And I'm just like, okay, what is this doing in this book? I don't know. It was just very weird to me. I read it completely physically, by the way. Like I just read the E-arc and it was good. But again, I wasn't really feeling it as much as the Very Secret Society. I'm going to film this another day. I really don't feel like talking right now. Goodbye. Okay, so I'm back here to finish my wrap up. I went and had some dinner, relaxed for a little bit, so I'm back now. I was just way too tired earlier. So after A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping, I finished another audiobook, and then I also went into another arc after that because I wanted to read both the arcs that I had back to back, but I also ended up finishing the audiobook that I was listening to. So the next audiobook that I listened to was No One Was Supposed to Die at the Wedding by Catherine Mack, and this is the second book in the Vacation Mystery series. These books are just so much fun, you guys. So basically, that's exactly what happens in this book. We kind of get a little more growth on the romance between the main character in this book and her love interest. I'm pretty sure it says it in the synopsis. But basically, Eleanor Dash is trying to solve... Why am I holding up just a synopsis? Another mystery while she's still writing another one of her books, and it's just so much fun. They're basically self-explanatory. I don't really have to go into them that much, but I thought that the audiobook narrator was just so much fun for this series, so I just wanted to listen to the audiobook of this one. And I just love them. I can't wait for the next one. So it always leaves off on another murder, and it's just so much fun. Why am I holding up the synopsis yet again? And she also tries to figure out, again, who she can trust in her group of, like, PR, but also, like, her team, her agent, like, everyone. Everyone is a suspect, even Eleanor. So, Emma is marrying Fred Winters, and that's the wedding that they go to. But also, Eleanor is kind of realizing she might be in love with somebody else, and kind of like her relationship is a little bit rocky in this book. But it was so much fun. I gave it a 4.5. they're just great books. I really have a fun time with them. I gave the first one a 4.5 as well. So, um, they're just a really, really fun murder mystery series. I've been kind of keeping up with that series more so than um the Thursday Murder Club series, but I am going to listen to the fourth book in Thursday Murder Club right before the movie comes out, because I think the movie comes out very soon this month, and I'm 100% watching that. I haven't really watched anything lately. After I watched the Red, White, and Royal Blue movie, I really have not watched anything for a while. Like, literally every night, I'm just either reading or I'm catching up on YouTube, because the YouTubers right now, my booktube girlies, have just been churning out the content literally almost every day, that all I do is watch YouTube at night. So, anyway, the second arc that I read for the month of July, that was coming out July 17th, was Lynn Painter's Made for Each Other. Now, if you guys know me, actually, you probably don't. You don't know me personally, but if you guys know, I have read multiple Lynn Painter books before. I've read, I think this is my 6th book by Lynn Painter. And I've read 4 of her YA romances and 2 of her adult romances. I haven't read her other adult romances yet, but the only other one that I've read before this one was Happily Never After, and I actually really enjoyed that book. So this is the second adult romance that I read by Lynn Painter. And I got this arc quite a bit ago. I think I said this before. The Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping. I got that, I think, like I said, just like a couple of weeks before it came out. This one, or maybe almost a month before it came out. I think I got it like the second week of June, and I read it like very quickly. The first week of July, and then this one I read right after that, because I was in the mood for more cozy fantasy, and then I wanted to read a romance. This was so cute. This was actually really funny. This is about Abby and Declan, and basically Abby works for Declan. She is his cleaning lady, basically his maid. That's why it's called Made for Each Other. It's kind of like a Made for Manhattan kind of remix. I didn't really think of it that way until now. And Declan is just a single billionaire. You know, he has a very successful business, and she is, you know, trying to make ends meet. She doesn't even really have somewhere to live at the current moment, because she can't even afford her rent. So she starts staying at Declan's apartment when he's like away on business. And then he finds out that she's been doing this one day, and he wants to actually like fire her, because it's like, hello, like, you can't stay in my house when I'm away. Like, what the fuck? But then they end up striking a deal where she ends up fake dating him to impress like his parents and also his company, to see that, you know, he's dating someone new. As you know, he hasn't dated in a long time. And obviously a romance between the two of them starts developing. And I thought this was really, really fun. I think it was kind of similar to Summer in the City, actually. But I think I liked Summer in the City even more, because like I've said before, I mean, even though this did take place in New York as well, I think that Alex Astor like really captured the spirit of New York. Because, you know, everybody says this with any romance that takes place in New York. New York, it's basically, you know, she's its own character. She always stands out. We love our NYC. I'm a Long Island girly, so New York City is one of my tried and true favorite places to go in the US, because I live in New York. So I'm able to go whenever I want to. I don't tend to go too often. This is actually the most that I've been in the city in a while. Was the past like couple of weeks. I went to see a Broadway show. I went to see & Juliet a few weeks back. I loved it. I saw it with my other friend that loves books as well. But anyway, this was so cute. I gave it a 4.5 as well. I really liked this compared to the last book that I read by Lynn Painter, which was Nothing Like the Movies, which was the sequel um, to oh my God, Better Than the Movies. Um, and after I read Betting on You, which was my favorite book by Lynn Painter, I still love that book so much. I read Nothing Like the Movies and I hated it. I just hated that book. It was one of my least favorite books that I read last year. And that was actually my least favorite romance that I read last year. Until I read It's a Love Story this year. It ended up being my least favorite romance this year. So I had two very disappointing reads from some of my favorite authors. And then, like I said before, Carly Fortune's One Golden Summer ended up being my favorite romance of the entire year. And I didn't really have luck with her books before that. So it just goes to show that and Ali Hazelwood's books ended up really growing on me. So yeah, I just didn't really love Nothing Like the Movies, but I really liked Made for Each Other. So it kind of made me a little hesitant to go into this book. But obviously, of course, I wanted to read it because I got the ARC and I was just so grateful to get the ARC. I always am. I just am shocked that I even get advanced reader copies. Honestly, it's kind of surreal. But it was really good, really cute. Highly recommend it. Okay, so next up, I read my favorite book that I read this month, and I said this before, was The Compound by Aisling Roll. You guys, this book was such a mindfuck. It was so good. So good. So basically, this book had me questioning what the fuck was going on this island. So it's not even an island, actually. They're in the middle of the fucking desert on this oasis, basically. And they have to earn everything that they have in this compound. Because basically you can't leave. But also if you do leave, you're not safe. You will still have to make it through this whole fucking desert just to go home. So this book was just such a mindfuck. So basically these characters are in like this competition where they have to survive this compound. And even if they are the last person left, they have to stay a certain amount of time, regardless if they're the last person or not. Just because they're the last person, they have to stay until they like basically go insane. Or if they don't go insane, then they win. But there's no winning for these. I don't know what the hell is going on outside. There's like no winning for these people, pretty much. And basically that's it. That's all I'm really going to tell you, because you really need to read this book yourself to develop your own opinion on it. But I absolutely loved this book. So this one, the main character is Lily. And basically Lily doesn't really have much else going on in her life. And she is just set out to win. But, of course, there's other people in this house that want to win too. And she has to survive to win. There's all these like little tasks and like competitions that they have to do throughout their time there. So it's like kind of a mixture of Big Brother and Survivor, and also Lord of the Flies. That's what I would say. But most people say it's a mixture of Love Island and Lord of the Flies. I don't watch Love Island, but put it in a book for me and I'll eat that shit up, because this was a 5-star read for me. I just loved it. I loved every single second of this book. I can't believe this is a debut novel, because this book was fantastic. And I don't know why people hate on debut novels, because Remarkably Bright Creatures was also a debut novel, and I loved that book so much. And that book is very beloved, so... Oh, this book was so good. I loved it. I buddy read it with my girl Felicia, and we both loved it. We both thought it was so freaking good. Okay, so next up, ironically, I read my least favorite book that I read this month after reading my favorite book, and that is In 5 Years by Rebecca Surley. I just wanted a quick, fast read. I don't remember what I was doing. So this book, I don't know. It gave me the ick. But also, I felt like with this book, it just didn't give me any answers after she went into the future. she still didn't end up with the person that she went into the future with. And also, her future got really, really sad because her best friend ended up getting cancer. And if I don't know if you guys know this, I've mentioned this on my channel multiple times, but my best friend died of cancer. And this book didn't really give any hope of like maybe the main character having a happy ending, because honestly there was no relief for the main, there was no like hope at the end of this book. It was very like matter of fact. And I know of course sometimes it does happen to some people where like they're always searching for their happy ending. And this did happen, this did take place in 2020, and then 5 years later it takes place December 15th of 2025 because she goes into the future. But there's like, again, I feel like with Rebecca Serley's books, there's like no explanation as to why these things happen. Like this book reminded me a lot of The Good Part by Sophie Cousins, but I liked that book a lot more because she ends up going back to her present life and like we find out why she's going to make her future better. But with this, we stay in the future and then that's it. Like nothing. And it was just so weird because I can't talk about this book without spoiling it. So sorry, if you don't want to hear this, you could skip ahead. Just skip ahead like 2 minutes. But so the main character's name is Danny, and basically she works for like this big company. She's going to like this really important interview for like this bigger job, and she has a fiance. I forget his name. And she has a best friend. Basically, her best friend is engaged to this other guy, and Danny is engaged to this guy that she doesn't really want to marry. She keeps on like prolonging the engagement because she doesn't really see herself like committing to marriage with him. Fast forward 5 years later to when this goes into 5 years later, she ends up not being with her fiance, which we all knew was going to happen. But then, like I said, her best friend gets cancer, and her fiance, her best friend's fiance, starts saying that he has feelings for Danny. Okay? That already gave me the ick. I'm like, wow, your best friend is dying of cancer, but also Danny got upset that her best friend's fiance hadn't even been with her that long. It was only like a few months and they got engaged like really fast. But then her best friend dies. But like the last week of her life, she gives Danny like this apartment, like this brand new apartment that she can move into because she wants to like let her like be in her own space, a new home, because like I don't remember what happened with Danny, why she didn't have an apartment, or maybe because she wanted her to have a new life. I don't remember. I'm gonna have to look that up later. But like she goes to the apartment with her best friend's fiance, and then her best friend's fiance kisses her and tells her how much he really likes her. And then after the best friend dies, Danny and her best friend's fiance end up being together because she breaks up with her fiance. Like Danny breaks up with her fiance and they end up being together. And then there's this one part that really gave me the ick. It was just so weird. I'm like, ew, I don't want to think about that. So Danny and her best friend's fiance, who is now Danny's boyfriend, are making love in her best friend's bed that they used to sleep in, her best friend and her fiance. And she has like this one moment where she's like, this is where my best friend used to lie in bed making love to, her fiance. And she's like, but I feel like a little piece of her is with me. And I was like, ew, that is so weird and bizarre and gross. I'm like, it's like one thing if they like, maybe it was a few years after 2025 and they like reunited and they were like, wow, like, you've really changed, blah, blah, blah. What are you up to now? Where do you live? Like, are you still the same job? And then they start talking and developing like a romance. That would have been a lot different instead of your best friend's fiance telling you that he's always had feelings for you. Felt like it was just a ploy to get closer to Danny. It just gave me the ick. I was like, what the fuck? So I gave this book like a 2.5, 2.75 stars. I gave it a 3-star on Goodreads. But honestly, I wanted to change it to like a 2. The only reason why I didn't is because I still enjoy Rebecca Shirley's writing, but I was like, what the fuck? It made no sense to me. I'm sorry. If you like it, that's good. That's great for you. But my favorite book from her still is Expiration Dates. One Italian Summer I really liked too, but there was a couple things in that book that I didn't love. But I definitely liked it more than this book. So I feel like her writing has gotten better as we go along. But like I've said before, I feel like Rebecca Shirley's writing is very similar to, or maybe it's Searle and maybe I'm mispronouncing it, but it has an E at the end, so correct me if I'm wrong. I've always compared her and Ashley Poston's writing as being very similar, but I think I prefer Ashley Poston's writing. So, I don't know. It was just very, very, very weird reading experience. I feel like I didn't really like it. Okay, next up, I read the spin-off book to Ember in the Ashes because I really, really wanted to read this spin-off duology, and this is the first book in the duology. The second book is not out yet. She's working on it, but it's probably not going to be out until next year. And that is Air by Sabaa Tahir. I really liked this. I had no idea it was a spinoff. I thought this was a prequel. And then I found out it's a spinoff because it takes place like 20 or 30 years after the events of Ember in the Ashes. And basically, if you read A Sky Beyond the Storm, this is about the heir in A Sky Beyond the Storm. I'm not going to say who it is because it's kind of a spoiler. I'm just going to say his name. His name is Oz. Oh my god, I'm butchering his name. And it's also about Saoirse and Quill. And basically, they are trying to navigate their lives in the new empire that is in this book. Because, an Ember in the Ashes, good versus evil, good triumphs over evil, of course. And Ace needs to cope with that. He's never going to know his parents. That's all I'm going to say. So his aunt, can't even say who his aunt is, has to like watch over him and take care of him. But Quill is always searching for answers about his parents. And Saoirse and Quill develop a romance. She is a tracker and Quill is the crown prince of the empire. Oh wait, Quill is the one that's the nephew, not Ace. Ace is the main character. So basically that's what this book is about. I don't really want to go much into details, but it was really fun seeing like cameos of Helene and Laia and oh my god, why am I blanking on his name? Elias in this book. So that was really, really fun, and I'm really excited to jump into book 2 after. I'm probably going to listen to the entire series and this book again before that second book comes out, because I'm going to feel like I want to refresh my memory, and like I said, really enjoyed the original series. It was just really good. Really good war, really good writing. I just will read anything that's in this world because I enjoyed this series so much, and I'm glad that I finally decided to read the series and finish it. So, because I had a great time from beginning to end. So I'm very excited for the second book. Okay, next up, I actually just returned this book today, but I really did enjoy it, but I just didn't feel the need to keep it. This is technically book 1 in the summer reading series by Jen McKinley, but you can read them in whatever order you want. It's just like a reading series. Like, it's literally called Summer Reading by Jen McKinley. I'm like, I have to read this book in the summer because it's literally called Summer Reading. And this book was so freaking cute, and it's so funny. I enjoyed Jen McKinley's writing so much. I think it's hysterical. I gave Air, I believe, 4 stars. I think I also gave Summer Reading 4 stars as well. Maybe I should round it up to 4.25. So basically this book is about Samantha and Tyler. No, Samantha and Bennett. And Samantha has to go to this island to visit her father and her half-brother Tyler. And she goes to spend the summer there because she needs to babysit her half-brother Tyler because her father and his wife, her stepmother, are going on like this vacation. So they need someone to take care of her son. Even though the son is like 16 years old, he still needs someone to, look after him throughout the summer. So Sam has always had a passion for cooking. And Bennett is like the town librarian. And they develop a romance. And it's so freaking cute. So freaking cute. So Samantha is dyslexic. She has a lot of trouble, processing information and reading and writing. And, she's always been, made fun of most of her life because people have thought, that she's not very smart because she can't read well. And, oh my God, their romance is so adorable because, Bennett, the way that she meets Bennett is he's like reading a book on the boat. I think that she's going on to get to the island. I don't remember why he was on there. Was it that boat? And she like ends up falling and knocking the book out of Bennett's hand that he's reading, that it flies into the ocean. And I think it was Jaws. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. She's like, I can replace it for you. He's like, it's not big of a deal. She's like, no, I insist. And he's like, well, then maybe I can, what do you like to read? And then they start like talking about what they like to read. It was just so fucking adorable. But also her taking care of Tyler was hysterical. I really liked this book a lot. I thought it was so much fun. And I enjoy her writing. I do want to read more books by her. And Tyler, she doesn't really have much of a relationship with Tyler, but then after this whole summer, she develops a relationship with Tyler, and they end up really, really liking each other. And Tyler has to go to like this summer camp, okay? This was also the book that I read when my sister was visiting, and ironically, I didn't even realize this, but like Samantha reminds me of my sister so much, not just because my sister's name is Samantha, but also because my sister loves to cook as well. And then my sister was literally visiting that day that I was reading this book, and I'm like, how did that work out? Because I didn't even plan that. Why does this shit happen to me all the time when I read? Like, I don't understand. I didn't even realize that when she came to visit. Her name is Samantha, and I was reading this book, so yeah. So anyway, Tyler has to go to like this summer camp. I mean, a science camp, because he's like really, really smart. He loves science. And Sam loves to cook, and Bennett loves to read. And Bennett is on the campgrounds or in the camp library, because he's like running the library for the camp for the summertime. So Sam like has to drop off Tyler to this science camp. He's like, drop me off around the corner. You're not going to embarrass me, blah, blah, blah. But they have this like hilarious banter between each other. And then like Sam sees Bennett there, and she's like, oh, I'm going to go talk to him. And then Tyler's like, what are you doing? It's just so funny. But also the way that like Bennett and Sam's relationship develops. Like Bennett wants to like get her to read, but he'll try like any different way to get her to read that's not like because like she can't really read words on paper because it's like really hard for her. So he introduces like audiobooks to her, but also he just starts reading out loud to her like one of his favorite books. And there's like this one part that just made me melt where he calls her and he's like, you haven't really talked to me today. And she's feeling like self-conscious about like her not really being able to read, but she also wants to get more into like just storytelling and listening to stories and stuff. So there's this one part where he calls her and he's like, um, I didn't want to read alone, and also I didn't want to read ahead without you. So he starts reading to her over the phone. And it was so cute. I'm like, oh my god, that's so adorable. So I really liked this book. I thought it was really cute. And Sam gets to like pursue her love for cooking on the island. She gets a job with catering and stuff for this guy that she knew like when she was a kid on the island, like one of her family friends. It was just a really cute book. I really liked it. Highly recommend it for summer reading. Oh my god, it's called summer reading. Okay, next up, I listened to The Wind Weaver by Julie Johnson. I really loved this. This was really good. My face is just because I don't really remember some of it. But this is The Reign of Remnants, not remnants, you idiot. Remnants. Number 1. And this book was just getting a lot of hype, from some of my favorite booktubers. And this book came out April 8th of 2025. So it's not even that old. And I did listen to this entirely. And I actually did have the Libby loan of it. But borrowing the audiobook was so easy. I was like, I'm just going to start listening to the audiobook because I finally had gotten the Libby loan because I was on the wait list for it for like over a month. And I got it, I think, in the middle of July. So I was like, let me start listening to the audiobook. And then I just listened to the audiobook because the voice was just so good. Oh my god, the narrator was great. So basically, this is about Raya, and she is a halfling, meaning she's like half human, half fae, I believe. Is she fae? Correct me if I'm wrong. Basically, she's a wind weaver. She can control the wind. And basically like halflings have to kind of hide that they're halflings because they're not really like pure magic. Did I skip over a book? Yes, I did. Oopsie. I still have like 5 million books. No, I only have like 4 or 5 left. I skipped over Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I was like, I'm pretty sure I read this book before I read The Wind Weaver. Sorry. I read this after In 5 Years. So we're going to shift it back a little. So I finally went back to reading Taylor Jenkins Reid. The only book that I read by this author so far was Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I wanted to read this in the summer. This was on my summer TBR, so I finally read it. The audiobook was so good. I did read quite a bit of the physical book too, though. And this was so good, you guys. So basically, Carrie Soto is like the best tennis champion of women's tennis in the world. And her dad has always trained her to be like the best. But also like it kind of like gave Carrie like kind of a toxic outlook on her life a little bit because, her dad would just train her to be the best at tennis. But also he always wanted her to be the best because he didn't want her to be so hard on herself on, being obsessed with tennis and like her whole life is tennis. But like after she like grew up and got better and became the number 1 in the world, Carrie is very hard on herself when she loses a game. And anytime she loses a game, she always blames herself, but she blames her dad like 10 times over. She's like, I shouldn't have lost that game. Why didn't I win? Blah, blah, blah. And then, like, there's some moments between her and her dad that are like really hard to read about. I got a little emotional, like teared up a little bit. I didn't cry too much because, like, honestly, I didn't really have too many emotional reads this month. But anyway, this was just really good. So basically, like, Carrie gets injured back, like, during, like, her prime. After she's won, like, Wimbledon and US Open, like, all these, like, huge championships. And she's, like, the number one in the world. And she's like, what do I do? Like, I don't want to retire and, like, bow out of the game. So she ends up retiring. Or, like, she just ends up leaving tennis. I don't know if she exactly retires, but, like, she hasn't played in, like, a long time. That's why it's called Carrie Soto is Back, because she comes back like a few years later. I think it's like 8 years later or something. And she's like the oldest woman that is now competing in professional tennis. And, everybody thinks like, she's not going to do it. And she ends up proving to everyone that she's still the best in the world. And that's where I'm going to leave it at. I'm not going to say what she wins, what she loses, but this was just so good. The audiobook was great. Highly recommend this. I gave this a 4.5 as well. It was just so well written. Taylor Jenkins Reid's books are so bingeable, so fast paced, and you don't want to put them down because they're just written amazingly. And this one, the audiobook reminded me a lot of the Favorites audiobook, where you get a lot of mixed media, a lot of interview kind of format. And it's just so good. Like sportscast kind of interview format. It's just so good. Really, really liked this book. Okay. Sorry. I remembered that book. Okay, so the Wind Weaver. So Raya has been captured by like these enemy men, and they don't know that she's a halfling. They don't know that she has powers, and she has to keep her powers like hidden away. I'm gonna start whispering now because I think my mom is like going to sleep soon. So she ends up meeting Commander Scythe, and he's actually one of her captors, and then they end up, developing a romance. But it's a very, very slow burn romance, but like I love like the tension between them. It was very well done. And also, Raya just has to, um, you know, show her powers eventually, but also she learns that Commander Scythe has powers himself, and she didn't know that. So like they start like, helping each other, but he's like training her a little bit, but it's not like the same as like Throne of Glass and like in Heir of Fire. It's very unique in its own way, and their banter is really, really funny. And also, like, this one kind of reminded me a lot of, like, why I love Fear the Flames and Wrath of the Dragons by Olivia Rose Darling, is that the banter's not just between the two main characters, but, like, most of the characters in the book. I really love when side characters have, like, their own personalities and also, like, banter with the two main characters. So it makes it more of like an enjoyable reading experience. It feels like more of like an ensemble than just like the two main characters, kind of like a theater show. Um, so it was really, really good. I really liked this book. Highly recommend it. It's getting a lot of hype for good reason because it's a really good fucking book. So I think I gave it a 4.5 as well. I think I didn't say it in this review, but I think maybe like a 4.25. It was great. I really, really liked it. The strange birthmark on her chest and the wind she instinctively calls forth means she's a remnant, one of the four souls scattered across and I can't say that, Anwin, fated to restore the balance of magic or die trying, but mastering the power inside her is only the beginning. Desire for the commander, a man she can never trust, a man with plans of his own, burns just as fiercely as the tempest beating against her ribcage for release. Raya must choose smother the flames or let them consume her. Really, really good book. Okay, next up, I did say I was going to start the Chestnut Springs series this summer. So I read book 1, Flawless by Elsie Silver. And I said this before. So this is my first Elsie Silver book I've actually ever read and never finished. Because I tried to read Wild Love last summer and I just didn't really continue it. I just ended up reading like a shit ton of other books besides that. I didn't really like this one. I thought it was very cringe. Her name is Summer, and she ends up falling in love with one of the cowboys. I can't remember his name. I don't remember which cowboy it was. But basically, Summer is staying in this town in the summer, and she's hired to like help on this ranch or whatever. I forget. Yeah, help the golden boy who's a bull rider, and she's supposed to like help take care of him on this tour of like bull riding. And she ends up, of course, falling for this guy. And honestly, the smut was actually really well written in this book. I really enjoyed it. But there was just some parts that just annoyed me. There's not really much to this book besides this. Summer does have a dad that she has to take care of, and he ends up having like a heart attack, I think, and she has to go and take care of him, and that part was very touching. But she also has an ex-boyfriend that wasn't even like, he was like older than her, and her sister ends up dating this asshole, and her sister has always blamed Summer for like never getting anywhere in her life, and also like her stepmother, which I don't understand how her father ever ended up marrying this woman. It really didn't make any sense. I was like, what the fuck? Like, because her father's the most important person to her in her life, and also vice versa. Why the hell would you marry this woman that would make your daughter's life a living hell? It just didn't really make sense to me. I'm like, this is like so random for no reason. I could have done without that. So basically, yeah, she ends up falling in love with the bull rider, and that's about it. There's not really much to this book. I think I just gave it a 3 stars. It wasn't terrible, but honestly, like, I don't know if I want to continue the series. You can't even listen to the audiobooks of these, which is so fucking annoying. Because I started getting bored with this book because he keeps on calling her princess, and it drives me crazy. I'm like, can he just say something else? I don't know. Because, she's like so high maintenance because, she's like a city girl in like a small town. So he has to call her princess. So yeah, whatever. I don't even feel like talking about it anymore. I did put the second book, Heartless, on my TBR this month because apparently a bunch of YouTubers that I really like are reading it in August. So I might read it towards like the end of this month, but I'm not picking it up before that. I'm probably not going to read it until after my birthday because there's plenty of other books that I want to read before I read that one. But I heard the second one is like one of the best in the series. So I'm hoping it's like a Rebel Blue Ranch kind of situation where the series gets better and better. Because like I said, I really did not like the first 2 books in Rebel Ranch, and I loved the last 2 books, Lost and Lassoed and Wild and Wrangled. Really loved those 2. So I'm hoping it'll just get better like that. But also, it's like, I already read Rebel Ranch. I don't know if I want to waste my time with Chestnut Springs, but you guys let me know. What should I do? What should I do? So yeah. Next up, I read, just the rest of the month, I read new July releases. So I really wanted to read this one, and I actually read this one the day it came out. So the other 3, or maybe I only ended up reading 2 because I ended up reading like a mood read at the end of the month. That wasn't on my TBR. It was going to be on my TBR in August, but I ended up reading it in July. So the next one is Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. Oh, this book was so good, you guys. Probably in like my top 5 of the month. Oh my god. I cried so much in this book. This book was really sad This was actually the saddest book that I read this month because I didn't really cry at like any other books this month, which is rare for me. Usually, like, I'm a sobbing mess reading most of these books. So basically, this book is about Jet, and Jet actually gets attacked from like behind, and it ends up like badly damaging her brain. And the reason why it's called, wait, why did it do that? That flashed like really weird. It like flashed the title again and I didn't even have it up. Phony, why are you being like possessed by a ghost or something? Was that Liz trying to communicate with me? That was really weird. It's never done that before. So anyway, basically it's called Not Quite Dead Yet because this brain injury is like fatal to her. It causes like this massive tumor in her head and she ends up only having like a week to live. But all she wants to do with her life, the last week of her being alive, is solving who attacked her and who tried to kill her. I just love Holly Jackson's unique concepts that she brings to the thriller mystery genre. I don't even know how she thinks up these concepts, but oh my god, it was devastating at the end. So good though. Highly recommend. And then her and her best friend, and with his name is Billy, tries to solve the person that attacked her. Tries to find out who attacked her, I mean. It did feel a little bit YA though. Kind of similar to like Good Girls Guide to Murder. This was Holly Jackson's first adult thriller, but it still read a little YA. And that's what most people did say. But it was still really good. 4.5. Very, very good. But damn, it ripped my heart out at the end. Oh my gosh. So many deaths. So many deaths. Very, very sad wrongful deaths in this book. So maybe the only one that I say check your trigger warnings for, because it was sad. Okay. Next up, I read another new release, which was The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. I was actually going to read The Night Circus this weekend, but also I have like another month to read it because my book club for Facebook is actually not doing a book club pick this month. So I can push it to like the end of this month or like the beginning of next month. And I feel like I'm going to want to read it more so in September. I still put it on my August TBR though, just in case. Because it's also one of my books, my 25 and 2025. And I really do want to read at least one or two of them this month because I haven't read one now since An Ember in the Ashes, which was like at the end of June. So yeah, it's only been a month, so not terrible. And I'm doing pretty good with that list. So anyway, this is the follow-up to The Spell Shop. I had no idea this book was coming out in July. I thought this book was coming out in September. Some people said it might have been moved up. So I ended up reading it because I really, really wanted to. And this book came out July 15th. So I think it came out like only like a week before Not Quite Dead Yet. This was really, really cute. I really, really adore Sarah Beth Durst's writing. It's just such a warm hug. It's so cozy. I just didn't love this as much as the first one because I didn't really connect to the well, I actually loved the romance in this book. I didn't really connect to the story as much as the first one because the first one, it kind of had an underlying high stakes plot but in a low stakes setting, if that makes sense. But this one, there really wasn't any stakes. It was very low stakes, like a cozy fantasy is supposed to be, but it was still so cute. So basically, Terlu is in exile and she's like on this island alone, and she ends up meeting this guy. I forgot his name. The Grumpy Gardener. I forgot his real name in the book. I actually ended up returning this book as well today because I just felt like I didn't need to keep it. I still, of course, own the first one, but I didn't feel like I needed to keep the second one. And basically, they have to save like the greenhouses and the plants inside on this island because it's kind of like an internal winter, and the greenhouses are like the only things like preserving these plants because obviously it's hot in there. So she has to like develop like a spell in order to save these plants, and it's very cute. And of course, the gardener ends up helping her and they end up developing a romance. And it's just so adorable. The romance is so cute. Um, like the way that they hold hands, the way that he like asks her to kiss her, it was just really, really adorable. So that honestly was like probably my favorite part of it. I just didn't feel like as attached to the plot of this one as I did with the Spell Shop. I still gave it a 4 stars. It was really, really cute. Okay, next up, it felt a little bit repetitive of the first book. So, but I still will read anything she writes. I've only read 2 books by her so far, but I kind of want to read her other books too, but we have 10 million books to read, so. Anyway, next up, and the last new release that I finished in July was Time of Your Life by Jessa Hastings, because then I started listening to Three Shattered Souls by May Corlin, and then I started Wrath of the Dragons by Olivia Rose Darling, but I didn't finish them in July. I finished Wrath of the Dragons the 1st of August. I haven't finished Three Shattered Souls yet because I'm listening to the audiobook, but I'm almost done with it. I'm like 85% of the way through. So anyway, I read Jessa Hastings' new release, Time of Your Life, and this is about Isolde and Joa. And honestly, I really, really loved Isolde's character. Isolde is a model in the UK, and Joa's like this huge rock star. And Joa's always been criticized for basically riding like his brother's coattails, where everybody thinks that like his brother is like the soul of the band and he's the only talented one, and that Joa's only singing like his brother's songs and blah blah blah. And Isolde is a model, so like Isolde is, she's in a hard industry in Hollywood, and they end up developing like a romance. But Joa is addicted to drugs, so check your trigger warnings for that. And basically, like, her mother, Isolde's mother, ended up dying of a drug overdose. So, it basically ends up with her navigating her romance with Joa in this book. That's about it. It was a little similar to Magnolia Parks and BJ, because the same thing happens in that book, and in that series. Nothing beats Magnolia and BJ for me, but I still really enjoy Jessa's writing. The only thing is that I know that Joa is addicted to drugs, but I really didn't like some of the times that Joa spoke to Isolde, but also like it was a little bit abusive. So again, check your trigger warnings about that. He never like, did anything to hurt her, but like just like the verbal language I wasn't really down with. But he gets overly jealous of his brother, thinking that he's gonna like, take her away from him, and he's eternally jealous of Isolde's, of Isolde like turning on other men because she's a model, so she has to deal with that like all the time. And it was good. I really liked it. It was a 4 star for me. I really liked the ending. So yeah, that's about it. I'm excited to see where the story goes. Again, I think I gave it a 4 stars, right? Yeah, 4 stars. But I hadn't had a 5-star read since The Compound, and then, spoiler alert, the first book that I read, the first book that I finished in August was a 5-star read, which was Wrath of the Dragons. If only I finished that July 31st, and that would have been only my 4th 4-star in July, because I only had 3 5 stars in July, which was A Reaper at the Gates, Red, White, and Royal Blue, and The Compound. That was it. So, still had a great reading month, though. And then the last book that I read in July was Nightshade by Autumn Woods. I just really wanted a super short, fast, dark romance, dark academia. I just wanted something dark. And I binged the shit out of this before the first day of Apple training for me, which was last Tuesday. I binged this this past Monday. And this was so good, you guys. This was so good. So this was about Ophelia and Alex. And basically Ophelia is like a new student at this Sorrow Song University. And Alex is one of like the third or fourth years there. And basically it's like a dark college, you know, people end up getting like attacked or die there or disappear and you never see them again. And this was so good. This was so good. I gave it a 4.5. Really, really, really fun. I still haven't had a 5-star dark romance yet. Kiss of the Basilisk was really close. But if it wasn't for the insufferable main character, that would have been a 5-star for me. But anyway, so Alex like starts to, well, we think that he's her stalker, but he's not. We'll find out. You'll find out who it is. But basically, Ophelia wants to go to this school because she wants to find out what happened to her parents, because of course her parents are dead, and I feel like that happens a lot in dark romances. The same thing kind of happened in Beautiful Venom. I didn't even realize that she goes to, well, I think it was her sister that was in a coma. I don't remember what happened to her parents in Beautiful Venom. Maybe they're dead too. But anyway, there's no sister in a coma in this, just her parents got killed. And she tries to uncover like what happened to them. But she ends up falling in love with Alex. And she tries to do everything in her power to not fall in love with him and be with him. She's also a virgin, so that was just really, really fun to read about them. Also, this book, for dark romance, there's not much smut in this. And I actually really appreciated it because they developed their romance like a typical contemporary kind of romance. And it's just so adorable. The things that Alex does for her are so cute. Like, they have like these Lord of the Rings like ramen cup of noodle nights. And it's just, I eat it up. It gave me like the warm fuzzies. And I'm like, wait. But he's like obsessed with her, but like in the best way possible, because he loves her so much and he'll do anything to take care of her, because like his mother's mentally ill and his father's kind of a piece of shit, doesn't really care about him. Kind of, again, similar to Beautiful Venom. I don't know if this book was written before that, but they were both published this year, so they just have similar concepts, but they're not the same book. So yeah, really, really good. Really enjoyed this. Cannot wait for book 2. It's only going to be a duology, which I'm very excited for. And then Beautiful Venom is going to be a trilogy. So very excited for book 2. So yeah, I don't know when book 2 is coming, but I'm 100% reading it because that book was so much fun. So yeah, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So please like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at CBW819 and check out my Goodreads and my TikTok. I will leave them linked below. I hope you guys have a great day and keep reading, and let me know what your favorite book was this month and your least favorite book. And if you've read any of these books, let me know in the comments. Nobody ever does, but I always ask anyway. So yeah, that's it. Keep reading. Bye.